Hi, and welcome to Rings of Power Episode 6 review. Let's take a look at this alleged action-packed episode where we have the orcs marching on the tower. You remember the Elven Tower. Well, Ador rallies the orcs. He gives a speech, which I didn't know you give speeches to orcs but he does. Kind of akin to, I guess, the speech that in the Lord of the Rings movies Saruman gives to the Rurkai. But remember, Rurkai are not orcs. They're what Saruman made. And so these orcs, I guess, they need speeches like from Henry V to get them rallied or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, he gives the speech. And, what should be a fantastic battle scene coming up gets cut to these two. They're trying to destroy the sword handle. Okay. And Browin and Arondir, Arondir tries to destroy it by banging it with a hammer. Okay. And of course, Browin seems to be running the village for some reason. I don't know how she's running the village, but okay. And we have all these kind of shenanigans going on where we have these two professing their love for each other and all of this. One of the things I don't understand is he's holding the hilt in his hand. He is an elf. And as we know, elves are magical. If this sword really is Sauron's sword, I don't think he could hold it in his hand. If you remember from the Lord of the Rings movies, these type of swords disappear when they're held in the hands of other people that are not evil. You remember Aragorn has a Morgoth blade in his hand that was used on Frodo, and the blade itself disintegrates when he grabs it and tries to hold it in his hand. So, I mean, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird to me. But okay, we have this sword that can't be hilt, that can't be destroyed, and magically appears when the little kid Theo holds it in his hand because somehow a drop of his blood makes it into a sword. Okay. But I don't understand why his elven magic can't do the same thing. But whatever. We'll go on. So the orcs attack the village, and led by him. And we get this procession of orcs, which, unfortunately, there's nothing, scary about this. It's like, it reminded me of a Frankenstein movie where the villagers are up in arms marching toward Frankenstein's castle. I'm not kidding. That's what it really looks like. When the minute I saw it, that was the first thing I thought of was Frankenstein, the movie Frankenstein. And it's not terrifying, it's not exciting. They're just marching. And it just looks like a procession, which is really weird. I don't know how they managed to make an attack on a village boring, but this show did that. And I just don't understand it. But it's something that's plagued this show repeatedly. it has to do with timing, and it's just incredibly slow. Everything is like at a glacial pace. Um, why that is, it's just bizarre. It has to be intended because I can't imagine someone making a film that is so slow. But I don't know. They didn't notice this when they watched this themselves. This is what the editors didn't notice how slow the pace of the show is. How even action scenes are incredibly slow and boring. I don't know. So we have so they're coming to the village, and I'm sorry, they're marching on the tower, but the people with Browen are have evacuated the tower, and they're in a village. And so the tower is attacked, and once the orcs are in that area of the tower, a Rondir shoots arrows at them and then shoots a flaming arrow that hits a rope and burns it. And this sets off a chain reaction of events, which is akin to watching like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, or like Wile E. Coyote kind of device. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. If you watch this, you will see this happen. And so somehow the tower, and I don't know how this was accomplished either, is like being held together with ropes. I thought it was a tower that was made of stone, which to me means perhaps mortar or cement was used to hold it together. But somehow this is being held together with ropes. And so once it burns through the rope, it sets off this whole strange chain reaction that collapses the tower on top of the orcs. Whatever. It's to see it is just you're just scratching your head. And I actually started laughing because it just reminded me of a Bugs Bunny cartoon. You tell me what you think. It really reminded me of Bugs Bunny. So that's what happens. And you know, at the nick of before while this is going on, they cut back to the people in Numenor on the ships coming, and we have scenes with Galadriel and Isildur, which I'll skip over because I almost fell asleep watching it. And we have a talk between Elendil and an exchange between Elendil and Galadriel, which once again I almost fell asleep watching that. And you know, the interwoven boredom. The good thing about this episode is the Harfoot hobbits are not in it, nor is the guy that fell from the sky. So we don't have to fall asleep watching them again, fortunately. And so we have scenes back and forth on the ship, boring, and then finally we come back to the village, and they are, after they have defeated the orcs the first time, there's a secondary invasion of the orcs. They realize that the first round of the obviously they know nothing about battle because you know battles come in waves. The second wave, of course, I still don't understand where they got weapons from. These people that have no weapons. They don't explain anything in this story. They do not explain the time shifts of things of how these people are sailing from Numenor to Middle Earth. Somehow it looks like this is done in less than 24 hours, which I don't know how that is possible, since there's an entire ocean they have to cross to get to the Middle Earth. And even if when they get to Middle Earth, this place where the tower is, I thought was located pretty far away from the shoreline. So it would take them weeks to get to this place. Yeah, it's a head scratcher. But okay, so the secondary wave of orcs comes in, um, and the remaining villages who were trying to celebrate, but found out that the original wave of orcs actually were people from their village who joined the orcs. The second wave comes, and these people are all like, they all huddle in one house. Not sure how that will protect them from the orcs, but that's what they're doing. And Browin is hit with 2 arrows in one scene, and then in the next scene she only has 1 arrow in her. Oops. And then she's, they take the arrow out of her, Arendir does, and her son Theo, and she's bleeding profusely. I don't know, more blood than a human can even hold in their bodies, but she's fine. They basically cauterize her wounds with a piece of wood. Not sure why they wouldn't know that you would keep a hot iron around in a battle so that you could cauterize wounds. But okay, we'll ignore that. They're villages. Obviously, they know nothing about battle, so okay. So then, like in the next scene, Browin's all fine. This is the same day, like an hour later, or even not even an hour later, a few minutes later. Makes no sense. Whatever. So they're all huddled in this house, and once again, this is proceeding at a glacial pace. Really, like a painful pace of how slow this attacking army of orcs goes through a village. I mean, in a lot of the Rings movies, the orcs are really fast and really strong, and when they hit a village, they flatten it. They have trolls with them, they have everything with them, and they like completely destroy everything. These orcs, I don't know, they must be old, or they must be like 1,000,000 years old or something, and have trouble with their hip or something, and they can't walk fast or move fast. It's just really weird. So we have this. So it's nighttime in the village, and the orcs are there, moving at a glacial pace toward the house where all the humans are. And then eventually they cut to a scene that is this scene here. And this is the people from Numenor all of a sudden are off their ships, and they're riding, and it's daytime. Now I'm not surprised at this. But how is it daytime with them riding their horses in Middle Earth? And how is it nighttime in the village? Did anyone take a science class or ever look outside their house to notice what daytime and nighttime are? Don't know how it can be nighttime and daytime in the same land at the same time. Just asking. I mean, but it is in this show. They're riding. It's daytime, but it's nighttime in the village. Now the orcs have broken through, and they've captured all the villagers in the house, and they start killing the humans because they want the sword hilt that Theo had. Okay. So then they threaten to kill Browin, and Theo goes and gets the sword hilt and is getting ready to hand it over to the head of the orcs, the elf guy. And the Numenorians arrive. Don't ask me how they went from their ships in the ocean to landing, to riding across the plains of Middle Earth to the village through daytime, and then it was night, and then it was day again. I have no idea how they did this without weeks passing by, months passing by, but it was all done in less than a day. Must be some sort of elven magic that does this. I don't know. But anyway, they arrive and they kill all the orcs. And we have this scene where Galadriel, of course, is chasing after the head of the orcs. And he's on horseback, and he has the hilt, supposedly, of the sword. And so she's riding her horse real fast, chasing after him. And so is Halbrand. Halbrand takes a shortcut. Don't know how he knows of this shortcut, but he took a shortcut and cuts off the head of the orcs and somehow trips up his horse by taking his spear and putting it in front of the horse's legs. Not sure how that trips up a horse, because a horse would just, probably jump over it. And, or even better, the horse would break the spear. No, his spear is fine. It doesn't break, doesn't get lost. Nothing happens to it. Anyway, so they capture him. And Halbrand wants to kill him for what we don't really know. We suspect it has something to do with his family being killed. Don't know. That's what the head of the orcs is saying as Halbrand's about to stab him in the throat with his spear. And Galadriel stops him from killing him because she needs him. She wants to interrogate him. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So she brings him back to the village, the human village. And she's interrogating him in a barn. And of course the queen arrives. And we have these two, Halbrand and Galadriel, having this moment where it seems like they're in touch with each other's feelings. And you get the feeling of this scene that both of them really like each other. Which, I don't know. I gave up on trying to figure these things out. As we have many people suspecting that Halbrand is Sauron or the Witch King or whatever. None of this makes any sense. But whatever. Oh, so she is in the other scene that comes after this. She's interrogating the head of the orcs, him, and it turns out Galadriel's pretty much just as evil as he is, and he even tells her that because she threatens to wipe out all of the orcs, but keep him alive to witness her killing all of the orcs and then saving him for last. I don't know about you, but that doesn't make any sense. Remember, Galadriel is supposed to be this all-good, angelic being. She is not supposed to be evil or doing evil things to people, torturing people, things like that. But in this show, she does these things. And this guy is right. She's just as evil as he is. So we find out that he is one of the original orcs that Morgoth made. He is an elf that was tortured by Morgoth and made into an orc leader, I guess. Okay, but I kind of knew that anyway. All the orcs are supposed to be tortured elves that were turned evil. So, not really sure where we get that one from, but okay. So our evil Galadriel is walking about. Okay. So then we have something that's really strange going on, where Sauron's hilt somehow gets in the hands of this guy, Waldrig, if we remember him. He's the barkeep from the village who was a servant of Sauron. And so he somehow has the hilt. We don't know how he got it because Arondir was the last person that had the hilt. And he gives it to Theo to give to the Númenóreans. But when Theo opens up the package, there's nothing in it but an axe. And somehow this guy has the hilt. Okay. So he takes the hilt back to where the tree is. Remember when in the last episode, Arondir tells everybody, "Oh yeah, there's this whole like statue thing to the hilt, and it goes in here, and blah blah blah." Well, somehow this guy knows all about this, and he knows that the hilt can be put into a stone like a key is put into a lock. I have no idea how he knows this, but okay. But then again, he is a servant of Sauron, so I don't know. But so he does this. And this sets off another chain of reactions, which it basically, what happens is it breaks a dam, which causes water to flow through channels and trenches and somehow into a mountain, which turns out to be a volcano. Somehow water getting on top of the lava in the volcano causes a massive volcanic eruption. Now, I don't know about you, but basic chemistry tells me that's not possible. What happens when water hits lava is it turns into steam. It doesn't cause volcanic eruptions. It turns into steam and floats up into the atmosphere. In this show, however, it causes a massive volcanic eruption. Maybe because it's Sauron's sword. I have no idea. There's our eruption. Boom. And this scene goes on for a while, just like, all the scenes, they're just stretched out until your eyes are ready to like fall out of your head, and it's just this constant glacial pace of everything. We end up as the final scene with Galadriel just standing there as the volcanic ash and lava and everything envelops her. Don't know how she survives that, by the way, because, well, even an elf can't survive lava being thrown on top of them, or pyroplasts, or, volcanic ash. So, not sure how she survives this one, or how anyone in the village survived it, including the Númenor army, by the way. I would think they would be wiped out, as this is what the village looks like. So, how they explain this one, I have no idea. But that's how this ends. And I was really disappointed. I think this particular episode was better, much better, than the last two episodes where absolutely nothing happened in those episodes. At least something happened in this episode to advance the plot, which makes it superior to the last two episodes that were horrible. Outside of that, I still found the show boring. And with a lot of head-scratching events that took place that don't make any sense. How they're going to explain that the Númenor army survived this, along with Galadriel, as well as the orcs that are there, that are captured by them, I really don't know. And is this supposed to be the birth of Mount Doom? And if so, it really is a stupid way to do it. Don't know how a hilt of Sauron's being stuck in a rock creates Mount Doom. Really doesn't make any sense. Honestly, Mount Doom just exists. It isn't a creation of Sauron. It's just a mountain with a volcano in it. That's it. It's not a creation of Sauron, which is why in the Lord of the Rings, at the end, Mount Doom is still there because it's just a natural object. Mordor is what is destroyed because that was a creation of Sauron. Well, we still don't know who Sauron is in the show, although I still think, or most people seem to think it's Halbrand, but I don't know about that. I think it still remains to be seen who he is, because the writers of this show, I'm sure, have no idea what they're doing, so it could be Theo that's Sauron. I don't know. But if you enjoyed these videos, please subscribe. Tell your friends about it and have them subscribe. This episode, out of my 5 scale, by the way, gets, I'd say a 2. See you next time. Bye-bye.